What's up guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. My name is Dash Lifestyle. Kindly for watching me for the first time, remember to subscribe, like, share and also comment. So guys, I want us to watch and to listen to this powerful message from Barbados Prime Minister Mottley. Mottley, she has come out and sent a strong warning to the Western country, to United States and all Western country. And also she has come out and exposed some of the things that the Western people they are doing to our Caribbean and African countries. So kindly guys, watch this warning message from our Prime Minister of Barbados, Mottley. Then I'll be back with more comment.
How dare you? How dare you upset the order? How dare you step out of your crease and summon us all to this inflection moment? We come to Paris today with a heavy heart, but with hope. We come to Paris today not to reinforce the divisions of the past, the orders of the past, but we come to Paris to identify the common humanity that we share and the absolute moral imperative to save our planet and to make it livable. We don't need a lot more words today. And quite honestly, I don't know that I have it in me to give more words. As I speak to you, my country, that of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and others in the Caribbean, in the Eastern Caribbean, are under a tropical storm watch for Tropical Storm Beth, literally. Yesterday, I had to decide whether to stay or to go. And I chose to stay because it is important that we move to action. Behind Tropical Storm Beth is another system, and hence this is our new reality. We have heard this morning from Vanessa, we've heard from the economists, we've heard from the president of Niger, and everyone has spoken truth with feeling, with clarity. And Emmanuel, I've left you for last, because privately I call this the How Dare You Summit. How dare you? How dare you upset the order? How dare you step out of your crease and summon us all to this inflection moment that will determine whether we will have the capacity and the will to bring pace and scope to the problem. I can tell you that there has been movement. Yes, 9 months ago, no one was speaking about natural disaster clauses. Now we have people wanting to recognize the wisdom of it, because countries do need to pause debt payments if they are going to house and feed people who are victims of a climate crisis. Doesn't quite work as well for those who have to move people who are suffering from drought, as the president of Malawi has had to do. So we need to perfect it. 9 months ago, no one was talking about multilateral development bank reform at scale. And Ajay, the World Bank was not as forceful in its commitment to the crisis of climate as it is now. And we wish you all the best, because in your hands lies the need for pace and scope. 9 months ago, we were not prepared to discuss issues of debt. And Kristalina, when no one else was stepping up during the pandemic, yes, you led the way, recognizing that your duty was not only to deal with the symptoms of the balance of payments problems, but to go back to the treaty and its underlying objective of securing growth and macro and financial and economic stability. But what is required of us is not simply to mark a card for progress. As we heard from Vanessa, what is required of us now is absolute transformation and not reform of our institutions. And that transformation is required because while the world knew since the 1890s that we were facing the warming of the climate, we chose not to heed the advice of scientists. And that which could have been done in more than a century is now being reduced to be done in less than a decade. And Secretary General, my heart bleeds for you, because yours has been almost that constant voice in the wilderness. But I say to you that it has not been in vain. As you heard from President Macron this morning, there is now the beginning of the understanding that poverty and climate cannot be separated, that education and climate cannot be separated. And later today we will go into the details of what that action must look like, much of which we have put in the Bridgetown Initiative, not because we believe we have the answers alone, but simply because we had the will to pull people together and say, let us discuss these issues and let us make enough noise consistently to command the attention of those who must speak and who must act. I ask us today not to leave Paris without understanding that the bolstering of the political ambition that is required must secure transformation and not reform. And I ask us to ensure that those of us who are heads of government and heads of state recognize that the world cannot continue in the shadow of an old imperial order that does not see countries, does not feel countries, does not hear countries, and worse, does not see, feel, or hear people. I ask us today to recognize that we cannot come to Paris but let our directors go back to the IMF or the World Bank and it be business as usual. They do not act in their own interests. They act on behalf of our sovereign states. And that is why we speak not only to the need for money, we speak to the need for the reform of the governance systems. Because when these institutions were founded, our countries did not exist. And we speak for a complete transformation of securing the sources of capital, as unpopular as it might be to voice it. We do not ask for the bankruptcy of private companies. That's not our wish. But we do ask for everybody to share the burden so that we can share the bounty. And it therefore means that simply relying and holding only governments accountable has run its course. And what is necessary now is for us to bring to the table also multinational corporations whose balance sheets dwarf more than 2/3 of the world's states. That is the world we have created out of the last century. And if we don't recognize that they cannot be left out of the equation, I'm coming. If they don't recognize that they cannot be left out of the equation, then we have no desire to solve the problem. And we thank philanthropy for what they do, but it can't only be what they like. It has to be what the world needs. And I hope that we leave Paris, therefore, not only secure in our determination to protect the planet, to protect the biodiversity, to protect people, but to recognize that if we do not act today at scale, with pace, we will not be able to get there in time to save more people. Let us, as the representatives of our people, at this most unique time in the history of civilization, not only do the right thing, but do it in time and do it for the right reasons. We will have more time in the next day and a half to discuss the details. But my plea simply now is to step up the pace and let's get going. Thank you.
Mr. President, above all else, we need a global reset on peace. There needs to be global peace. And those of us who are old enough would have recognized that there are peaks and valleys as it relates to this issue of conflict. There are few areas where the world is more in need of the United Nations acting as the United Nations to secure the objectives of the Charter than in the area of peace and security. The silence that has engulfed Sudan is unacceptable and may well be rooted in the racism that the world still carries as a badge of honor from the victories of the last great war of the World War II. The actions in Myanmar cannot continue. Ukraine has sucked more oxygen out of the global community and the global financial system than any of us can appropriately accept at that very time when the world needs to be applying its resources and efforts to fight in the greatest crisis known to mankind. And the spread of the war from Gaza to the consequences in the West Bank to now clearly what is happening in Lebanon as we speak with Israel, all of these are but the tip of an iceberg of death, violence, and instability, and robs the global community of oxygen and resources at the very time when we need it most in a strategic way. We all know, as students of history, that even the longest war in history came to an end. These wars, yes, they too will come to an end. But the question is when and at what cost, and without much loss of life. With how many children not being able to be either given the chance to live or will now live with memories of war that will affect their every action for the next 60, 70, 80 years of their lives. Innocent people are paying the price with the one thing that is theirs to give.
Absolutely.
And they don't give it willingly. It is their life. Unless we address the root causes of these wars, one by one, and the manners in which they are being sustained and financed, we will never, never know anything else other than war and rumors of war in these theaters. The transmittal of these scenes of horror in real time into people's bedrooms, into people's living rooms, will trigger two extreme reactions, neither of which are acceptable to us in the third decade of the 21st century. We will either get the desensitizing of ordinary people to the loss of lives, especially those of innocent children and women on the one hand, or we will get, on the other hand, the anger and inclination for vengeance that it spawns necessarily. We need peace. And it cannot be too difficult for us to work for peace.
Absolutely.
It is the same Bible that tells us in the stories of the Old Testament, much which has guided many people across this world. But when we turn from the Old Testament to the New Testament, It is Romans that says to us, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, not any country, not any human being. So that the Bible can't be used as a convenient aid when it suits us and rejected when it doesn't. In the midst of this maelstrom, we were very clear. My country took the step this year of recognizing and establishing diplomatic relations with the state of Palestine, in spite of having supported a two-state solution since 1969.
Crazy. That's crazy.
And we did this because it is clear to us that the state and people of Palestine, human beings, are entitled to full recognition by integration into and support from the international community. The Charter does not say we the people, with the exception of any one group from any one part of the world. We join with others, therefore, in congratulating the state of Palestine in taking their seat among the United Nations member states as they did on the 10th of September of this year. And let me be clear, we condemn the actions of Hamas on October 7th. But we equally and strongly deplore the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, which is the result of the disproportionate use of force by Israel. There's no justification for it.
Yes.
And that is why treaties exist governing the rules of engagement for war. Because we as human beings learned better and know better and committed to better. A two-state solution, no matter how elusive it may appear to be now, is the only answer. And I've said already this week that we have known difficult battles in mankind's history. But when we were in it, we didn't think we could achieve it, but we did. We abolished slavery. We removed apartheid in South Africa. These battles are not beyond our creativity, our capacity, and our resilience to resolve them. Similarly, we insist that the killing in Ukraine really has to stop. The people of Ukraine must be allowed to live within the internationally recognized boundaries of their state in peace and freedom from the threat of use or force. And as I said, it is sucking too much oxygen out of the global financial system, and countries that should be the beneficiary of aid are being told that they may have to wait in the interest of the defense of others because of war. I say to us truly, there has to be a singular commitment to build a peace. Truly. Mr. President, my own region has not escaped the scourge of instability and violence. The Americas do not constitute today a theater of war. But we are today witnessing, for some years now, an unprecedented escalation in the number and caliber of assault weapons which are finding themselves in the hands of criminals who are wreaking havoc on the legal systems and our societies, particularly in the small island developing states of the Caribbean and indeed in the wider states of Central and Latin America. This scourge caused by guns manufactured in the United States of America primarily also requires a fundamental reset. The right of persons to bear arms in countries not engaged in military conflict should not be an opening to accept as legitimate the presence of assault weapons in countries. It is simply not right. There is no place for assault weapons. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. President of Namibia, the Deputy Secretary General, my dear sister, President of the General Assembly, President Yang, brothers and sisters. We are here on a Saturday afternoon from so many different corners of the earth because we know that our time here and our commitment matters more than ever. As we speak, war rages in the Middle East, in Africa, in Europe,
And in the Americas, while there is no declared war, there is conflict that causes the loss of lives because of access to assault weapons and all of those other things that literally have undermined citizen security in our hemisphere. We are here in the season of superlatives, from the driest to the wettest to the strongest storms. Every possible thing that we could imagine that can disrupt our way of life, from the environment and the range of biodiversity that is so essential to the balance of our earth, has already been affecting us. And we are here generations after countries declared independence with the intention of being able to deliver for their people the best life possible, but constrained, of course, by the absence of access to development opportunities, and most importantly of all, to the fuel, to the oxygen, to the financing that matches the needs of their people. I do not tire in saying that we cannot build schools and hospitals with 10 and 15-year money. And we're here because even though noises were made every decade for the last few decades that things ought to change, they continued in the same direction. Fueled by greed, fueled by inequity, fueled by marginalization, fueled by values reflected by human beings taking decisions, or as His Holiness would say to us, from literally the desensitization that comes, that allows us to take comfort in ignoring what we see and what we hear. I take comfort this evening from the fact that we are here. But we being here will only be a record or a footnote in history if our actions just end here. Yes, the conclusion of the Pact for the Future is the seminal treaty and theoretical point from which we want to take our action. But the truth is that that may become just simply another document in history if all that we have come to do is to secure a pact. We have now to ensure that we enlarge the people, the army, the believers, the doers, who are prepared to say that in the same way history can record successfully that slavery was wrong and needed to be abolished, in the same way that we can have history record successfully that women should have the right of agency over their vote and their body, in the same way that history can record successfully that the people who live in separate and apart systems in South Africa, or regrettably now as we see in the Middle East, that they should be freed from the bondages that allow others to determine what their destiny should be and to be able to secure it for themselves and the least capable among them. If you lived at those points in history, you might well have said that the battle was impossible. But we know enough to know, as President Mandela told us, it is not impossible if it can be done, or it is impossible until it is done. This world can change, but it needs our energy, our commitment. And in the same way, in electoral matters, we go out and find other people to help us proselytize and canvass. We must now go out and find ordinary citizens who are prepared to say that they're not wishing to be pawns anymore of others, and that the notion of two worlds, one for those who have and the rest for those who are relegated to not have it. One for those who see people and feel people and understand their obligation to help, and others who are insensitive and do not, quite frankly, care or see those around them. If we doubted the power of the people, we only need to see where that power has made significant changes, even in this year that we live in. But what matters now is that there be coordinated action, and that we believe and that we sell and share with each other that there is a possibility for a win-win, that there is a possibility for us to have a green transition that can mitigate the damages that would otherwise come from the climate crisis, that there is the possibility for ensuring greater equitable access to artificial intelligence, and that the power of regulation can ensure that it be a force for good and not an instrument of oppression or recolonization of the earth. That it is possible for us to be able to take stances that recognize that investment in education will always trump conflict and war and guns, but that there may be difficult decisions that we may have to make too. And the problem is that if we have a world that is dominated only by 60-second sound bites and 4 column inches, rather than allowing the spaces for discussion as we are doing in here, not just at the UN, but in the villages, in the towns, in the communities, in the homes, in the households, that if we don't get that discussion going, we're not going to get the level of participation, and we're not going to build the momentum necessary that can move the inequity and that can remove the threats that this world has. I believe that it is possible for us to have a win-win. I believe that hope can be restored, but I do recognize that we are at that inflection point. And those who have power and want to maintain the status quo, even though they do not yet have a plan for allowing us to live on Mars, they are adamant on not creating the space or the policy flexibility or the access to the funding necessary for us to bring along others. It is unconscionable for us not to recognize that unless we can provide the basics of food, water, shelter, electricity to all people on this earth, we cannot talk about being a successful generation in human civilization. And we all know that there is sufficient to be able to share. What is needed is the change in attitude and values. I'm not going to reflect only on the fact that almost every religion carries us in the direction of caring for the most vulnerable, because people may want then to get into the schisms and isms of religious differences. But there is, in African civilization, the concept of Ubuntu. I am because you are. I am because we are. And if you hear me repeat it all week, please forgive me. I'm not repeating it because I'm just looking for something to say. I'm repeating it because the establishment of a shared destiny, a common mission. And I want to salute the Secretary General, who very often has not been given his due. The common agenda sets out where we must go. The Sustainable Development Goals are the roadmap. The Sustainable Development Goals is where we hit the road with the words of the opening words of this chart, as we heard from the young people yesterday, we the peoples. If we cannot provide for the peoples the basic rights as reflected in the SDGs, then we have banished them to another generation of failed souls at the very time when the world has more to offer them than it has ever offered them. I want us to leave here with a pep in our step and with a commitment to the principles that can truly bring harmony and a shared mission to save planet and people. There will be much that we can call upon to show the divisions, and there is much that we can do to fuel hate. But above all else, if we succumb to those divisions and hate, we will forever be condemned, because at this inflection point, we have the ability to come together as human beings to save the people and to save the planet. It does mean adjustment. It does mean hard work. It does mean sacrifice. But above all else, it is built on a heart of caring and a creative capacity that our minds have, that if we don't use it, then we will lose it. Let us, therefore, defend the pact for the future, but more importantly, bring others to understand what it is, what it means, and what is the win-win for every human being. Will we get all? Probably not. But our failure to try and our failure to press ahead is what we will be condemned for. And I pray that even at this moment of great challenge, of great disruption, that we as human beings will show why we on this earth are a resilient species, and why we have within us, the capacity to do right and to be the right person for the time, by advancing not just our individual interests, but recognizing our common destiny. I am because you are. I am because we are. Thank you.
So guys, I hope you have watched and listened to that video from our Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. I really love to bring Mia Mottley to this channel because she's that one of the Caribbean leader whereby she usually come out and fearlessly send a warning message to the United States and all Western countries, telling them that to leave the Caribbean countries alone, and also to leave some of the African countries alone. And also Mia Mottley, she's always fighting the rights of the black people. Whenever the black people, they are being treated in the Caribbean, in the United States, the black Americans usually also come out and fight the rights of the black people. She has come out in this video and sent a powerful warning message to the Western country, highlighting some of the things that the Western countries, they are doing to the black countries in the Caribbean and also African country. Mia Mottley, she has come out and tell them to stop turning our leaders to be puppet, because we saw United States came out and they are threatening to arrest Ibrahim Traore, one of our youngest African leader. So these people, they went ahead and used a black general, a United States, but he was a black general. He's known as General Langley. So United States used this black general to come and send a threatening warning to and threaten Ibrahim Traore. This general, he's saying that Ibrahim Traore is a dictator. He has become a puppet, and also they want to arrest him, or even if they will not arrest him, they want to assassinate Ibrahim Traore. But we have seen these are some of the things that these people, they usually do to our brave leaders. But right now we have seen the Caribbean, we have seen Jamaican, we have seen Barbados, we have seen Trinidad and Tobago people. They came out and protest and send a warning message to the Western countries, telling them to stop, to arrest our leaders, to stop interfering with our African and Caribbean leaders. And for me, I'm so proud seeing one of the Caribbean leaders coming out strongly, fearlessly, telling the Western country that it is not supposed to happen, because we as black people, the black leaders in the Caribbean, they cannot try to interfere with the leadership of the Western people. Why is it these Western people, they want to control us black people? I've never seen the Western countries controlling the Chinese, the Indians, these other races. Why is it they usually want to control us black people? What is it that we black people we are having in our country that these people, they are so mad at us when seeing our leaders is working towards people, when see our leaders, they are trying to develop our African country? Why is it that these people, they are so much into our African country? It is now time for us black people to start knowing exactly that our African country is so important to us black people. That's why these people, they also want our country so bad, because they know that we black people, we are really blessed. Yeah, our country, it is so much blessed with minerals, with oil, with so many things that it can make our country to develop. And that's why the Western people, they know that our country is blessed. So they know that if everything it is here in Africa, they will need to use our leader to take what it is here in Africa so that they can benefit them in their own country. And Mia Mottley, she's that one also of the leader whereby she usually come out and say that it is now time for us black people to unite. Yeah, she always talks about unity. One of the things that the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, she always talk about is telling the black people in the Caribbean, do not forget their home. That their home is Africa, and Africa, it is the motherland of all black people. All these leaders are the all black people in the Caribbean. Majority of them, they came from Africa. When you see the black people in Jamaica, also majority of them, they came from Africa. When you see black people in the Trinidad, in the Barbados, in the Haiti, also in Haiti, all these people, they came from Africa. So whatever it is happening in Africa, majority of our Caribbean country, they always come out and support us black people. So seeing this so much support coming from the Caribbean country, for me, it is a good thing, and it shows that we black people, we have started uniting. We are uniting, we are protecting our leaders, and also we want these people to respect us black people. That's why I will always preach about unity. I will always try to spread the good news to us black people, so that all black people, they can know exactly what it is happening. Right now, you have listened to the good message from the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, coming out and educating us black people and telling exactly, exposing the Western people how exactly these people, they want us black people to operate. These people, they want to control us, because during slavery, these people, they saw that it is easy to manipulate us black people and to control us. So right now, we are in the 21st century. They still that for them, they are seeing that it is very easy up to date to control us black people. For me, I can tell them that it is the new generation, and people, they have grown up, everything, it has changed. So right now, you can't just come out and try to eliminate our leader like how you people, you did it in the past. So right now, when you guys were threatening our leaders, you just know you are threatening all African people. When you're threatening a black leader in the Caribbean, you're also threatening all black people, the black Americans, the black people in the Caribbean, and also African people. So we are uniting, and also we want you guys to respect us and also to respect our country. You people, you have been calling our countries, our black countries in the Caribbean and African country, third world country. But we know that our country is richer than your own country. Yeah, you are calling our country third world country, and yet you are depending so much to our country, because I know that these Western people, they can't do without Africa. They can't do with some countries in the Caribbean. Like, for example, you can see in Jamaica. Jamaica, they were given fake freedom. These people, they were given they are not free yet, because the head of state, it is the queen, which it is telling which exactly tells you that these people, they are not yet free. So for me, I can tell you that it is now time for Jamaicans to wake up and fight their country so that they can be free from the hands of the colonizers. So kindly, guys, I want you to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, like this video and share, and let's talk about this good message that our Prime Minister from Barbados, she has come out and talk about. And also I can tell you that we are uniting just to support Ibrahim Traore, and also we are uniting to defend our country. We black people, we are saying no more to imperialism, no more of destabilizing our country, no more racism towards black people, no more discrimination and all kind of bad things which these people they usually do to us black people. So that it is a message that I want to pass across, guys. So kindly guys, subscribe if you haven't, like this video, share and also comment. Let's talk more in the comment section. See you guys, bye bye.